Hi. I'd like to talk about this morning the imperfection of people and the beauty in it because I see a lot of people online trying to find the crack in everybody to discredit them and take away their power and disqualify them and take away people's role models, and whether it's Mother Teresa or John Lennon or everybody that's imperfect, or Martin Luther King or Gandhi, they always find the one character flaw, the one thing that that person struggled with, that they worked on all their lives to become a better person. They didn't start out great people. They didn't start out perfect people. They're not Jesus Christ. No one is, right? And with that in mind, shouldn't we have a little bit of compassion? Shouldn't, isn't that something to relate to? So there's a line by Leonard Cohen that says, "There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." And it's one of my favorite lines of music. And that's why I have this olive oil jar. It's like this rainbow olive oil jar in my kitchen, and it's beautiful, but it has this big chip on the bottom. And I could turn it around and hide the chip, but I actually keep it with the chip facing outward as a reminder that, not only are material things impermanent and not to be valued greatly, but that we are all imperfect. It's a reminder that I'm not perfect, and that's okay. And it's a reminder to be compassionate with myself. And I have an old saying that that has helped me, and I think it can help others. Is that sometimes we have to be the parent to our own inner child. And I hear a lot of people who are very hard on themselves. They're very kind to others, but they're very hard on themselves in every possible way. It's extraordinary, the level of self hate and judgment and holding on to the past and living in the past, judging themselves for the past. And it's easy to do, right? And we all do it, I think, to some extent, unless we had the most loving, warm, perfect parents, right? And since no one's perfect, there's no perfect parent. But some people, some have it easier than others, whether it's financial, starting area, or both parents are loving and balanced. And I had a my mom raised 5 kids by herself. Can't even imagine. Can't even imagine that, dude. Can't even imagine. I mean, it's so hard, right? And as I've gotten older, I've gotten more compassionate towards my mom and more understanding, and I've forgiven a lot of the things that I held against her growing up, and things that were hard, and things that I realized she held against herself. And I forgive her, and I don't want her to hold those things against herself. My mom recently passed, and I think it's so hard. Anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. I miss her. I wish she were here. Um, but she was imperfect. And if we judge everyone forever for their imperfections, we give them no path to healing, no path to humanity, no path to redemption. And again, back to Jesus. Wasn't Jesus a symbol of perfection and a teacher and a guide and a person that showed us that we were worthy of love, and that we could learn and we could grow and we could overcome our imperfections and our sin, as it were. Anyway, I see a lot of people judging, online. A lot of people, and it's easy to find fault in everybody, right? John Lennon, he hit his wife. They'll say he hit his wives all the time. Okay, he hit his wife, his first wife. I know that. He talked about it. It's horrible. Um, Obviously, that is horrible. And he spent his whole life trying to change that because he understood that he was a young, angry kid. And a lot of us, when we are young, angry kids, do stupid things that we regret. And if we show remorse, that's a good sign. That means we are working to change and be better and to grow. And we are not that person anymore. We are that person, but we're not now. Um, and we're striving to always do better, right? And that's what it's about, right? If you condemn people to have no redemption, then why should they even try to improve? Um, they won't, right? It's they'll give up. If hope is meaningful. Hope is important for people. People need hope. And anyway, I think this was just something I wanted to talk about today because I think there's also I think what happens is that line by Leonard Cohen, there's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in. I think a lot of people use it, they corrupt it, right? They look for the crack in everything for the dark to get in, right? As a reason to cultivate darkness rather than light. And I think angry people do that. I think disingenuous people do that. There's a lot of bad faith actors online, and you have to navigate that. And I think all we can do is try to do our best, forgive ourselves, seek to understand others. For example, another example, Kelsey Grammer from Frasier. I always thought that he always had bad track records with women, and a lot of people judged and condemned and hated him for that. Like, oh, he always has these superficial relationships. And I wanted to understand, well, why? Why does he have these relationships? He's not just some bad guy. Um, I don't think, right? So what did I do? I picked up his memoir called So Far to learn a little bit about the guy. And in that book, I discovered something truly shocking and tragic happened to Kelsey Grammer. I'm sure if anybody's watching this, might know. His sister, his young sister, they were about the same age, I think. It was like me and my sister. Imagine if this happened to Shoshana. I can't. It's devastating. She was raped and killed as a teenager, and I can only imagine that what that would do to our trust in building relationships moving forward. And I think that's what shut him down emotionally for decades, right? And loss can do that. Loss can, especially when you identify so much with whatever it is that was lost or whoever, it can be absolutely devastating, and we don't all heal from that at the same rate. So let's be compassionate towards one another and ourselves. And anyway, I do have to get to work. I wanted, I don't really make videos of me talking usually. This was something I really cared about. I also think it's interesting that the idea that there's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in, can be used um, incorrectly as a way for the dark to get in. And I think we have to be able to discern between the two. And try to. I think the way to navigate that is through gratitude. I think if we have gratitude in our lives, we'll be more inclined to let the cracks show light. So gratitude, I think, really is the answer. Um, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. I've heard a lot of people lately validating this idea, and lately. Jimmy Carr actually talked about gratitude recently as the salve for suffering. Michael J. Fox talked about gratitude, and he said, as long as there's gratitude, you know, I've offered something. I forget. He said something amazing. So, but I've always felt like gratitude is what helps the most. Um, so I wish you all a life of gratitude and to be able to see your blessings through the darkness in your life that when you think about the cracks in your own life, that you can turn to the light that shines and not despair and hopelessness. All right, take care.